People really don't know what their expenses will be because they don't know how long that they're going to live.
Americans are worried they won't have enough saved for retirement now more than ever.
Retirement is going to cost, for many folks, over $1 million.
Is no sure thing in investing, but a lot of people think that annuities may come close to that.
It's going to more safe things that they know. If they know they're going to need that money to supplement their retirement, well, then you can't play that risk.
This is the Safe Money and Retirement Show with Jon Heischman Sr., founder and partner of Heischman Financial Services, serving the Columbus and surrounding areas. Jon specializes in educating pre-retirees and retirees about safe money strategies and ideas. Now, it's the Safe Money and Retirement Show. Here's Jon Heischman Sr.
People don't plan to fail. They simply fail to plan. Good morning. This is Jon Heischman, your host with the Safe Money and Retirement Show that I bring you each week on this station. So I want to thank you for joining me. My topics are always geared towards retirement planning with hopes that you will plan and have a more successful retirement, whether you're currently retired or getting ready to retire. I know that the phrase, people don't plan to fail, they simply fail to plan, can be an old cliche. It can get a little worn, and people feel they're trite and insignificant. But the other side of the coin is to understand why they become cliches in the first place. Too many people use them over and over because there is simply a lot of truth to them. What's the truth that lies in this cliche? Let me give you an example and see if any of this sounds familiar. I'll give you an example of a couple that came to me to see if I could help them plan for their retirement. Now, the fact that they had both recently turned 65 and wanted to start planning for their retirement might sound a little odd to you. In fact, it's just the opposite. All kinds of couple, like the couple I'm referring to, came in all the time wanting to plan for their retirement at the exact time they are retiring. Here's a couple that met in high school. They've been married for 42 years, raised 3 children, and had 7 grandchildren. Basically, they had known each other their entire life. Now, they finally came to the point of retirement age, and they wanted to be sure they were going to be okay, financially speaking. So here's an issue. Do you really think it's a good idea to start planning for your retirement exactly when you turn 65 and ready to retire? But this couple didn't plan much at all for retirement prior to their retirement. They just kind of assumed everything would work out. They had managed to get by financially their whole lives by having things sort of work out. And like many couples, they figured out how to raise their 2 kids, pay for college, and they always managed to take care of financial emergencies like braces for the kids, broken furnace, new roof, new car, and everything that goes along with pre-retirement. So there they were. She retiring from her job as an assistant to a superintendent of a local school district, and he owned a pharmacy in town and had sold it to his cousin. They just sort of assumed everything would work out fine because between the two of them, they had over $400,000 saved up in their retirement plans. Their home was almost paid for. They had very little debt. Now, for both of them having $400,000 plus in one place at one time seemed like a lot of money going into retirement. Now that they had retired, they decided to come to me to do retirement planning. So as I go on with this story, my point is to tell you about how to plan for your retirement and go into much more detail about how to analyze your financial situation. And I want to help you figure out what to do based on similar case studies that I'm referring to, because there are many in this same situation. Okay, when this couple presented their plan, they became upset, very upset. And why? Because when the plan showed them that based on their goals, how much money they wanted to have and the things they wanted to do in their retirement, that nest egg of over $400,000 was only going to last about 9 to 10 years. They didn't want to hear that. But in retirement planning, honesty is the key, whether it's a good or bad situation. Somewhere around age 75, they basically would run out of money, be broke, and living on Social Security income only. She did have a small pension. Now, most of us know that $400,000, that's a lot of money, especially for someone that has worked their whole lives, saved up money, contributed to an IRA, and most people would think that's sufficient. Now, keep in mind, I'm not being critical of this couple, but facts are facts. One big mistake was they waited until retirement to plan the rest of their retirement, the next 20 to 30 years. You might say that's kind of like planning your wedding the day of your wedding. Most people are familiar with the concept of planning for a wedding, and I don't think many would consider planning their wedding or their kid's wedding on the day of the wedding. This couple, they didn't plan to fail. They simply failed to plan. And so many times that I've seen over the years, there's a lot of couples that are in the same situation. They procrastinate. They assume everything is going to work out. And I do understand, but for some reason, when it comes to money and planning for retirement income and security, many people just simply don't plan. We'll start planning when the kids are older. We'll start planning when I get my new job or promotion. Maybe when we get back from vacation. In retirement planning, bottom line is planning for your financial future is probably one of the most important things you can do with your time. Critical that you plan for your financial future because nobody's going to do it for you. Not the government, not the company you worked for, only you. Those of you that are regular listeners, you've heard me over the years say that it's never too late. And that's true. But it's a whole lot easier if you start prior to retirement. I was able to help this couple by making some adjustments to the money they had saved. by repositioning assets, designing an income plan that would give them a guaranteed source of income along with Social Security and her small pension. And of course, I can't forget about helping them with a new budget. They're fine today, and they end up being one of my best clients. If you're in that situation, don't wait any longer to seek help, because I will say most of the time, I can solve the problem. If you're in this situation and you're not working with a retirement planner, or maybe you're working with an advisor that doesn't really do retirement planning, I want you to give me a call. Write this number down, 888-426-0177. That number is available 24/7, and I will receive the message, 888-426-0177. If you want to call me direct at my office, call 614-861-7055. 614-861-7055. We'll do a review of your plan. There is no cost and definitely no obligation. And it's not to sell you anything, but to review where you're at in this point, whether you're pre-retirement or already retired. Maybe I can help, maybe not, but we'll take a look and determine that. That's what I want to do for my radio listeners. 888-426-0177. And I look forward to hearing from you. After the break, I'm going to give you another idea, so stay tuned. I'll be right back.
Thanks for listening to the Safe Money and Retirement Show with Jon Heischman. For more information, call 1-888-426-0177. That's 1-888-426-0177. Or visit their website at HeischmanFS.com. More of the Safe Money and Retirement Show in a moment. There are some gains in life that most folks don't mind losing. Extra weight gained or credit card debt gained. The number of miles gained on your car. But losing your retirement gains is no one's dream. Would you like to retain the retirement money you've gained over the years and at the same time create a paycheck for life in retirement? Then call Jon Heischman at Heischman Financial Services, 614-861-7055. Or call toll-free at 1-888-426-0177. His clients don't lose their gains due to market risk. Their gains are locked in with no exposure to risk. Retain your gains. Losing some of the candles gained on your birthday cake would be great. Or losing some of the strokes gained in your golf game would be a dream come true. But losing retirement gains would be a nightmare. Don't risk it. Retain your gains today. Call Jon Heischman at Heischman Financial Services to find out how. Call 614-861-7055. That's 614-861-7055. Or call toll-free at 1-888-426-0177. Welcome back to the Safe Money and Retirement Show with Jon Heischman. To contact Jon, the number to call is 1-888-426-0177. That's 1-888-426-0177. Once again, here's Jon Heischman.
Welcome back to the Safe Money and Retirement Show. I bring you this show every Saturday morning at 9 o'clock on WDLR. The show airs on 96.7 FM and 1270 AM. Either one will bring you my show. I do appreciate you listening and welcome your feedback and questions. So I was discussing planning, which is critical in retirement planning. And along those lines, I have to address the ways that you could lose your money or run out of your money during retirement. That's part of planning because let's face it, no retiree wants to run out of money. No retiree ever wants to lose their money during retirement. And of course, no retiree wants to be a dependent of someone else for retirement income. But unfortunately, these things happen. So many retirees haven't been advised or they haven't learned how to set up a retirement plan that's going to allow them to protect themselves from any of the ways to lose money or run out of money. And most don't realize this until they experience either one of those situations. So I can break it down to keep it simple and in the interest of time to 6 different areas that I always want to address when discussing retirement planning. Actually, I have a 1-page sheet entitled 13 Ways to Run Out of Money. However, most of these are going to fall into or be a part of the 6 that I'm going to discuss. So while I think about it, if you'd like a copy of the 13 risks in retirement, call the number I give during the show and I'll have that sent to you. But as mentioned, for now, I want to introduce these 6 dangerous items with a brief discussion of each because, in my opinion, these 6 will create the greatest chance for retirees to run out of money. They are taxes, catastrophic medical expenses, inflation, bad investment planning, lawsuits, or passing away without having a proper estate plan. Any one of these, or a combination, can wipe out an entire life's savings, and sometimes overnight. So I'm not trying to scare anyone. It's actually just the opposite. It's reality and preventable. Taxes. Now, you would think it would go without saying that retirees would want to pay as little as possible during retirement. They should use every legal loophole available to them to reduce taxes. But typically that's not the case. Taxes have to be addressed. Is there a way you can save from paying too much in taxes during retirement? I don't want to let taxes ruin your financial security. And most of the time, there are ways to structure your plan to reduce taxes from your retirement income. What about catastrophic medical expenses? This covers an area of future health insurance cost, out-of-pocket cost, not to mention the big one, which is long-term care expenses. Today, the numbers are about 50% of retirees will spend some time in a nursing home. In our area, you're probably looking at as much as $6,000 to $7,000 per month. There has to be, or attempt to have, a plan to take care of those long-term needs. Since the odds are high, and as mentioned, extremely expensive. Today, there are new and creative ways to provide coverage as an alternative to the very expensive cost of an actual long-term care policy. Plus, you have to qualify for it based on your health. You need to look into that. And if you haven't, let me know. I can introduce to you different ways, different planning techniques for your long-term care needs. 888-426-0177. Again, that number is 888-426-0177. Next, inflation. We all know and have experienced the cost of inflation and what that does to our income. So the question is, does your plan allow for inflation? Is it flexible to the point where you can make that adjustment from your retirement income when we have high periods of inflation? The fourth is bad investment planning. This is another big problem area where I see retirees continue to make mistakes. Mistakes and problems in this area often cause them great distress during their retirement. And the thing is, most don't understand what investments are or how they work. Most people are not even sure if a CD is an investment. So it can be very complicated and confusing when we talk about investment planning. Not only bad investments, but too much of their retirement assets that are going to be used for future income that are in risky or bad investment planning. Failure to address sequence of returns risk. How bad investments affect your income in the future. The fifth category, lawsuits. Most retirees don't realize that lawsuits are a common plague and can cost them some or all of their life savings. Many retirees wonder why they could be sued, especially if you're not in business anymore. But believe me, there are many ways, especially today, that we're all susceptible to lawsuits. Addressing this issue and taking the necessary steps is going to protect your retirement assets. And the sixth topic, what about passing away without properly setting up your estate? I think this is another area where I see families repeatedly have made mistakes. They don't realize the seriousness and the importance of setting up an estate plan, which is going to allow their heirs to receive the assets in the way the family wants them to be received. Legacy planning, a plan that is going to minimize the taxes and expenses that may occur upon their demise. Also, to prevent the government taking as much as half of the assets in the form of estate taxes. Now, grant you, many will not have an estate tax problem, but many will. And those that will, this topic needs to be addressed. I am not an attorney and can't practice law, but my job is to bring this situation to your attention so you can talk to your attorney or an attorney that I can refer you to talk about wills, trust, and estate planning. Please keep in mind, estate planning is not just for the very wealthy. I think in some form, it applies to everyone. So again, these 6 areas are probably the most important that I need to address with my clients. But there are a lot of other areas that I have laid out and can bring to your attention with my 13 Risks in Retirement. Order that today, look it over, and contact me with your questions. 888-426-0177, 888-426-0177, or 614-861-7055. Thank you for listening to the Safe Money and Retirement Show today. Be sure to tune in next week for more good information that I'll bring you with tips for a better and secure retirement. I'm Jon Heischman, your host. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
The Safe Money and Retirement Show with Jon Heischman Sr. To get in touch with Jon, call 1-888-426-0177. That's 1-888-426-0177. For more information about Heischman Financial Services, visit their website, HeischmanFS.com. That's HeischmanFS.com. Join us again next time for the Safe Money and Retirement Show with Jon Heischman Sr.